Hello and welcome to our fourth Hangout on mobile design with a focus on responsive web design. I'm Kathleen Ward and I'm here with Shelley Burke. Together we created a checklist to help you design a mobile site that meets the needs of your customers and drives conversions. You can download the checklist at checklist.travel-on-the-go.com. We strongly encourage you to go ahead and download this important checklist. If you already have a responsive or mobile-friendly site, you can use the checklist to see how your site stacks up and if there are any features your site has fallen short on. Fixing these can greatly improve conversion rates. If you're now planning your responsive design or redesign, then the checklist is invaluable throughout the process, from wireframing the site through design and development phases, and very importantly, testing. So in the last Hangout, we talked about the need for an effective search feature and how to evaluate and select plugins for your responsive website. Today, we will continue to look at plugins, this time in the form of third-party services, and we'll also take a final look at testing your mobile site, which we've touched on in previous Hangouts. So let's begin with third-party services. So what do we mean when we talk about third-party services? Well, we're really talking here about any functionality that's provided by an entity other than your own organization or over which you do not have direct control. Some examples would include a booking engine in the case of a hotel or other hospitality provider, an online payment system such as PayPal or one provided by your bank, a calendar of events, a list of special deals such as flights, Google Maps showing your business's location, nearby features and directions, and lead capture for direct marketing services. These services may be delivered directly on your website, for example, a map or a newsletter sign up, or they may be in the form of a link off of your website, such as to PayPal for credit card processing. These types of external links typically include some branding or customization, so that the customer knows that the external service is connected to your company. The best way to ensure seamless integration is to have the information delivered to you as raw data rather than pre-formatted by a third party. You can then format the raw data on your website in a mobile-friendly format and with careful consideration of both desktop and mobile users. Some examples of raw data would include a JSON response to a request for availability at a hotel, a RSS feed of special deals from which you can extract and display the title, description, and photo of the deal, and a payment verification from PayPal confirming that the customer's account has been charged. Some other advantages of having the data in raw format is that it allows for easier caching, and therefore faster access, and better error handling. But of course, there will be cases in which the raw data will not be available. In that case, you need to ensure that the formatted data that you're receiving is mobile friendly. Begin by questioning the provider and following up with testing on your own on multiple devices and testing services. If you discover that the provider's system is not mobile friendly, you need to pressure them to upgrade their systems, and you can use industry data and your own stats as proof of the need to upgrade. You probably also need to start looking for an alternative provider and also carefully test their services. For non-critical services on your website, you can consider removing them completely from mobile users. What you need to do is ask yourself, is the compromised mobile experience better than none at all? Obviously, this is not an option for services that support key calls to action. In that case, you're better off convincing your current provider to upgrade or seek an alternative. So let's have a look at some examples of well-integrated third-party services. And we'll start with an example of travel deals on the barbados.org website, which is provided in the form of an RSS feed. So here on the site, you can see a list of special offers and deals, and you can easily move between the deals. And we're looking at it here on the desktop site. But if we switch to a tablet view or smartphone view, you can see that the specials and deals are well formatted in both tablets and smartphones. Another example would be a weather forecast feed, which is supplied as an XML feed from World Weather Online. So for desktop users, the forecast appears as 2 rows and 3 columns. This is a 5-day forecast. But on smaller devices, such as a tablet, you can see the display changes now to 2 columns. And on a smartphone, it would actually change to 1 column. Now, this would be very difficult to achieve if the forecast was delivered pre-formatted, but by having the raw data, we're able to control the formatting. Another example would be Google Maps, which is a very important feature for many businesses. This service can be used to provide a satellite view of your location, as well as drive-in directions. And here's an example. Now, Google does deliver this map with some formatting, but it is inherently responsive. So you can see how it displays on the desktop site, and if you switch to tablet, you can see that it scales very nicely. And likewise on your smartphone, whether you're looking at it in portrait or landscape view. Another example of a company being aware of the needs of mobile users is PayPal. And PayPal actually deliver a mobile checkout experience that not only displays well on mobile, but actually seeks to make the whole checkout experience quicker by cutting out several steps. So in a traditional implementation of PayPal, you can see that there are several steps that the user would go through. And that's a lot of steps to complete on mobile. So what they've done is actually cut out a number of those steps. And you jump straight in to your PayPal login. Very nice design with a break above the fold. And if you need to access additional information like the shipping address, that is available to you. But for most people, that information is already stored in their PayPal account. So with just 2 clicks, they can actually check out, as opposed to the multiple clicks that they would traditionally have to go through. So to conclude, you've probably invested or are going to invest very heavily in making your website mobile friendly. You need to protect the return on that investment by ensuring that the entire customer experience is positive for both mobile and non-mobile users. This is particularly true for your key calls to action and conversion points, such as bookings, purchases, newsletter signups, etc. You need to make sure that any third-party services you're using are making the grade. As I mentioned earlier, testing of your third-party services is extremely important, and this is one of Shelley's passions, and she's emphasized it quite a bit in previous Hangouts. So I'll hand over to her now so that she can show you some of our favorite tools for testing our own sites and third-party services. Shelley?
Thanks, Kathy. I think that was a very informative discussion there. So we're just going to move to the next topic in our series, and that is testing, as Kathy said, testing of our mobile sites. And we want to do this on as many mobile, on many interfaces as possible. So as web developers, we tend to gravitate towards our favorite device, our favorite web development program, and our favorite browser when we are building and testing our websites. We tend to use what we're most comfortable with. What we must focus on, however, is the audience that will be accessing our sites later. We need to ensure that their experience when viewing our sites is just as good as the ones we have when using or viewing our sites on our favorite device. And we may ask, why is this necessary? The answer, simply because there are thousands of different devices being used by our website viewers today, and new ones are being built as we speak. There is the traditional desktop, there are laptops, there are tablets, there are netbooks, PDAs, smart TVs, and many, many more. Furthermore, each of these devices, each category has multiple sizes and resolutions. There are different operating systems and operating system versions. There are different web browsers and different web browser versions. Ideally, we would like to know how our websites behave on these devices. It is highly unlikely, however, that we will personally own or have access to every one of these devices to do our hands-on testing for the mobile sites that we build. So what can we do really? Before we consider even launching our mobile sites, there's some important information we need to have. As a matter of fact, we need to have this information while we're building our sites throughout the site development process. We need at minimum an idea of how our site will look and function on the most popular internet devices in use today. More importantly, we need to have quick and easy access to this information. So, how do we achieve this? In our last hangout on plugins, we looked briefly at some of the tools available for testing the plugins installed on our mobile sites. Today now, we're going to look at these same solutions, but in greater detail. And what we propose is online testing tools. So there are a number of sites that we have found, a number of resources online that come in quite handy when we're testing our mobile sites. And the first one we will look at, iPadPetite.com. And essentially it's a neat online emulator that will show you how your site looks on Apple devices like the iPad and the iPhone. So now we're going to take a look at what it looks like. So this is the interface here. At the top you will notice a banner, totally unrelated to the site, but the buttons just below here are what we're interested in. This first button here allows you to switch your screen's orientation between portrait and landscape. This second button, which looks like an iPad, it loads the iPad frame below, which is in this area here, and your site would load in this frame for testing. Next to it, there is the iPhone icon, and the last one on the right is the iPhone 5. So if you use an example here, we're going to try apple.com, just to stick to the Apple domain. And we would just type the website name into this address box here, as you would on your local browser. Press enter, and you can see the Apple site being displayed in the iPad frame below. And in this landscape orientation, it looks pretty decent. And you can see all of the menu items. You can scroll down, and it looks pretty good. Now we're going to try to change it to portrait orientation. By clicking that button there. And if you scroll down, you can see some of the menu items are actually cut off, unless you use your scroller to scroll across the screen. It's not something that you would necessarily want your users to have to do each time they view your website on their mobile devices. Similarly, if you look at the Apple site, on the iPhone, once again, you see much of the information is cut off. From this, we can gather that this site is not the most mobile friendly, neither is it responsive. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is a second tool that we've come across in our web development. This one is Quirk Tools, and it basically allows us to test responsive sites on desktop laptops, tablets, smartphones, etc. So we're going to look at what Quirk Tools looks like live. So I'm going to share that screen with you. So Quirk Tools is a company that offers many services for website operators, but the most helpful to us for testing our responsive sites is their ScreenFlay application. So you can just click here to launch the application. So basically it allows you to view how your site would render on multiple devices at a variety of resolutions. There are preset resolutions for most popular devices, but you also have the option of setting a custom resolution. All right, so the example we're going to use here is barbados.atlantis.submarines.com. As before, you just type the address into the address bar here and click on Go. And you should see the site being rendered in the frame below. You can just scroll down to see how my site looks. And this will be on the standard desktop. So we see everything being displayed quite neatly. We're going to switch to tablet view now by clicking this button. And this is a responsive site that we would have gone through a bit before in one of our previous Hangouts. So I'm just going to look at it on the Google Nexus 7. And as expected, the site adjusts itself to fit this resolution. We see the menu has changed. It's now not a horizontal menu, but a mobile-friendly menu that is much smaller and can fit at this resolution. If you scroll down, you will notice that the layout has changed as well. And we're going to also look at it on mobile devices, the smartphones. Let's look at it on a Samsung Galaxy S3. And once again, you can see the site adjusting itself to fit quite nicely into smartphone size. You can even test what it would look like on a television set. Let's try it 720. And again, we see the site readjusting its layout to fit on the larger screen. So that is this is ScreenFlay by Quirk Tools. It's quite a neat application. The last one we will look at is one personal favorite of mine. I'll just share that screen with you as well. It's called BrowserStack, and it's one of the most popular online testing tools available today. BrowserStack is a cloud-based browser testing service that allows you to remotely log into virtually any browser version on any version of any operating system from the comfort of your workspace. You have quick and easy access to 300 plus desktop and mobile browsers. Essentially, you can perform testing of your website in all these real live browsers through your one browser. It's like having multiple virtual machines running in your browser without the overhead. So that's quite handy. So here's what BrowserStack looks like. And we're going to just use a test case here, barbados.org. So we type the address into the address bar here, and on the left you can actually select the operating system. We're going to choose Windows 8. You can select the browser version. Let's choose the latest Firefox version for that. 30, and the screen resolution as well. And we'll stick with the 1024 by 768. So you can just click on the Start Testing button, and you will see the session being started, where it will, in real time, generate what your site would look like in this particular browser on that particular operating system. So here now is Barbados.org, seen in Windows 8 using Firefox version 30. And again, this is real. It's a real browser that it's logging into, so you know this is exactly what your browser, your website would look like on this browser. You can scroll down and make sure everything looks as you want it to look. Now, with BrowserStat, one good thing about it, there is a free trial that you can use. This is good if you want to do live testing, but you're operating on a tight budget. The only downside is that there's a limited testing period for that free trial. For extended testing, however, you do have the option of purchasing an unlimited monthly or annual plan. And another good thing about BrowserStack is that the browsers come with built-in tools such as Firebug to help you debug your website if you're having any issues during the development stage. It could be a bit slow in terms of rendering what your website will look like, but I think it's the closest cost-effective solution to performing real-life testing of our mobile sites. So that is it for me on mobile testing. And once again, just to reiterate, when you are developing a mobile site, you need to make sure you test it on as many interfaces as possible. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Shelley. It's very interesting to see what a wide variety of tools are available. Well, I hope you found this information useful in planning and implementing your next responsive design project. Be sure to download your free copy of the mobile checklist and join us next time when we talk about the choice between responsive web design and having a separate mobile site or app. We're really looking forward to it, and I hope you'll tune in. Bye for now.